if we ourselves ask our question, sentiment to my mother or father, is it reality? Yeah, it is reality, and it's also an emotion. Sentiment towards my cartoon pictures, is it a reality or false? It is actually false, but children have a lot of sentiments towards it. We sometimes have sentiments towards our pen, one pencil, some handkerchief. We have a lot of sentiments. But these sentiments are not always reality. People have sentiments on handkerchief, that handkerchief is given by my school friend. So that sentiment has some nice feelings, but by that kerchief he cannot do anything. Whereas if you have a sentiment on loving your family, you have a sentiment on loving the country, you will be able to serve them. Sentiment cannot be limited to only my mind. Sentiment should be extended to the whole world, to the whole universe. The sentiments are very important. Sentiment can help a person to grow. Sentiment can bring person to the platform of serving others. But when if sentiment itself becomes a weakness of a person, that means that sentiment is not reality. A sentiment cannot remain only in a weakness platform. A sentiment should be a strength, a strong energy, a driving force. Devotion is not a weak sentiment. Devotion is based on Vedic literatures, which are having a strong bonding on God, based on knowledge, jnana and vairagya. Now you are, suppose everybody has a sentiment right now that I am not diseased. A patient will say, I am not diseased. So a doctor will say, no, you are diseased. No, doctor, I am not diseased. You are all simply trying to enforce on me. The doctor will say, let us do a diagnosis, let us test. By testing, we will come to know whether you are really lying or it's a reality. So Bhagavad Gita also explains how everything is a test, a pariksha. Jnana vijnana sahitam. Knowledge should be with practical application of knowledge. We know about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came from West Bengal after his sannyas, and he was in the great law of Lord Jagannath. His associates started traveling from Calcutta, West Bengal, and when they reached Chandanpur, those days 500 years back it was called as Kamalapur. So Lord Chaitanya was a sannyasi. So he gave his danda, sannyas danda, to his devotees. Please catch, I will take darshan of Lord Shiva. There is a temple in Kamalapur, the present Chandanpur, of Lord Shiva, and the temple is known as Kaputeshwar Mahadev. Kaputa means a small pigeon. So Lord Shiva had performed a lot of austerities there, and he had become like a pigeon. So it was called as Kaputeshwara Mahadev. So there Lord Chaitanya went and paid respects to Lord Shiva, and by the time he came back, the devotees of Lord Chaitanya didn't want Lord Chaitanya to practice the sannyasa ashram, because they knew him that he was a very advanced position. He was in advanced position, and he was also the Supreme Lord. He had personally come as an example to show devotion to the general public. So they took Chaitanya's sannyas danda and they broke it, and they threw in the water. And when Lord Chaitanya came and asked, where is my sannyasa danda? The sannyasa danda is very important for sannyasis. They take that danda not for sentiment, but it indicates their kaya, manasa, vacha, means their words, action, and this body dedicated to the Supreme Lord, for the service of the Lord, for the service of the higher cause, not for the regular my body. So they have given it for the service. The Vaishnava sannyasis, especially they hold Tridanda sannyas. That's why they hold a sannyasi stick with Tridanda. At the top there will be 3 pieces. And the general regular sannyasis, they hold Ekadanda sannyas. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas from Shankaracharya Sampradaya, and he was holding a Ekadanda sannyas, a sannyas danda. So somehow the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they broke that and put it in water. And when he inquired what happened, they told Lord Chaitanya, we were dancing and your stick fell down and suddenly it broke. So they made a joke. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would understand, and he told, I can understand that you have a great love for me and you have brought me from Bengal to Puri, Odisha. I am very thankful to you, and I request you people that at least now you please leave me alone. I will move forward, then you come backside. Or you move forward, I will come later. So they told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but Chaitanya, you can leave. So within a moment, Lord Chaitanya from Aternala to Jagannath temple almost like vanished in a speed of a light. He disappeared and he went to Jagannath temple. When he went to Jagannath temple, he was in ecstasy of seeing his beloved Lord, he was in a great lamentation. Where is my Lord? I have forgotten him, and I am searching him from millions of lives. I have forgotten my Lord, the love of my heart. Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was displaying the symptoms of the Vrindavan inhabitants. The Vrindavan inhabitants had lost Krishna after he was taken away to Mathura, and they were constantly crying because Lord Krishna in his childhood was a very beloved child of Vrindavan. He was always playing with his friends. He was doing some mischief in the houses of elderly gopis and gopas. He was a very lovable child. Everybody liked him, and nobody wanted to see him like God. The Vrindavan inhabitants never saw him as God. They always saw him as their beloved son, as their beloved friend. So this is what their relationship was with Krishna. So in Vrindavan, Krishna was going and stealing some butter and eating. They will scold Krishna, Krishna, have you taken butter? But actually they were making butter for Krishna only. There are varieties of cows, and that cows also wanted to give milk specifically for Krishna. We have dairy flavors nowadays in dairy shops. We have a pista flavor, or we have vanilla flavor. Like that, there are some flavors which, because the regular milk doesn't have much taste in it. Whereas during Krishna's time in Dwapar Yuga, each cow had a special flavored milk, and Yashoda Mai had some selected cows. From that cows only she will give Krishna that special milk, because each milk had a special flavor. Just like for your children, you can make, today I will give children a Boost or Bournvita or a vanilla flavor or a coffee flavor, a chocolate flavor, whatever flavor. Krishna had naturally some cows, nice flavors which were given to him. So Krishna had a lot of opulence, and that was a real wealth. And all the inhabitants, they used to make Krishna nice butter, and they were waiting when Krishna will come. But they were always making a show, because Krishna wanted to come and steal. So the stealing also is a inherent quality of God. If God doesn't have the stealing tendency, how we will get? We are part and parcel of God. We also have a stealing tendency. But when we steal, we lack something. Everything is Krishna's property. Why should he steal for his own enjoyment? Actually, he steals to give pleasure to his devotees. The beauty of Vrindavan was loving Krishna. That was not an ordinary sentiment which will end in one life. So that sentiment is what Lord Chaitanya was carrying. Lord Chaitanya, when he took sannyas, he asked his mother, "My dear mother, I have given up you and I have taken sannyas. Actually, this body is meant for you, because every child has to feel like that towards the mother, because this body belongs to our parents." Lord Krishna practically showed that example. Krishna was in Vrindavan, so he came back from Vrindavan to Mathura. So when he came to Mathura, he met Vasudeva and Devaki. So he said, "My dear father and mother, actually I have to be serving you. I have forgotten you. So I will be there with you for your service." So he was ready to serve his parents. That's the attitude of a son. Every children should have that attitude. Bhagavatam explains every children should have that attitude. The same attitude was displayed by Lord Chaitanya even when he took sannyas. He told his mother, "My mother, actually this body is meant to serve you. But somehow or the other I have taken sannyas. So you please order me what you want me to do. I will do that." So she told that mother, who allows the son to serve the higher cause, just like a military man, the parents send for fighting for the country. For the supreme cause, I allow you to go and serve the Supreme Lord, just like a soldier actually is being allowed by his parents to go and serve the nation. So Mother Sachi allowed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go and serve Lord Jagannath in Jagannath Puri. That was her condition. You please stay in Jagannath Puri, because after sannyas, Lord Chaitanya wanted to go to Vrindavan. But there was an inner secret. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to come to Lord Jagannath. So one was externally his mother told, "You please stay in Jagannath Puri," because Jagannath Puri and Navadvip, West Bengal, people keep on coming and going. It's like one house. From this room to that room, how people go, like that people keep on coming and going. "I will get your message. From Vrindavan, it's very far away. So you please stay." That was the external reason. And the internal reason of Lord Chaitanya, he himself knew it. That Lord Krishna, when he was in Vrindavan, he had given up Vrindavan and gone to Mathura. And they were all crying. They had lost Krishna. And losing Krishna, their heart was beating. They could not breathe. They could not sleep. They could not eat. And they were always lamenting on Krishna. "Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna?" They were just like a mother bird which has lost its small bird. Mother Yashoda especially was like a bird who has lost his child bird, and she was weeping, weeping, weeping. And when Krishna sent his messenger, Uddhava, to find out, "Please go to Vrindavan and find out how are my family members." And Uddhav was his uncle's son. He was a cousin brother of Krishna. So when he went there, he saw Yashoda, Mother Yashoda was crying. Always crying. And the gopis became practically mad. Krishna is not there in Vrindavan means for them their life had lost. So Krishna was such an attractive person for them. Why Krishna is all attractive? because He is the Lord of our heart. The Krishna name comes from Sarva Akarshatihi iti Krishna. One who can attract everyone is Krishna. Sarva Akarshana. So this Krishna, who is Sarva Akarshana, can attract everybody, not only of this world, but of the Swarga, of Vaikunta, everywhere he can attract. And he is worshipped by great Devatas. And he is Lord Jagannath. So Lord Chaitanya wanted to come and embrace his Supreme Lord, whom he had lost in Vrindavan. His mood was of an inhabitant of Vrindavan. He had lost his dear friend, and he was crying always for Krishna. Where are you? Where are you? He was always crying. And Mother Yashoda, wherever she sees that there is some bush moving around, or the other gopis, they see something is going, they think that Krishna has come here. Krishna has come and suddenly has disappeared. Actually, this was happening even to Lord Chaitanya's mother. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had told his mother, "My dear mother, whenever you cook something, I will come and personally eat." So she was thinking, my son has gone away. So she used to do everyday cooking. And after offering to Lord Vishnu, she will see. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually would have eaten that food. Although he was sitting in Jagannath Puri, he was eating from there. So she used to think sometime in mad sentiment that actually maybe today I have not done cooking. So she used to again go and start cooking. So these are the mood of, or the great sentiments of Vrindavan residents. Now we are here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has ran and come from Aternala, and he is in the mood of a resident of Vrindavan, and he went running towards Jagannath. "Oh Jagannath, without you I could not bear my heart. Please give me darshan. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatume." This song was composed by Adi Shankaracharya, and Lord Chaitanya used to every day recite this song, Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatume. Please give me the vision. You are my object of my vision. This is the only prayer we can ask the Supreme Lord. He is the object of our vision. There can be nothing in our life more important than Lord Jagannath. He is our vision. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went in great ecstasy towards Lord Jagannath. He was seeing Lord Jagannath, and from his eyes tears were flowing. Tears were constantly flowing. He could not stop. And his tears were flowing. He was seeing Lord Jagannath. And when he went in such ecstasy, he fell unconscious on the ground. And that time, there was a chief priest of the Lord Jagannath 500 years back, who was a chief priest for the king, Maharaj Prataparudra, who was a Gajapati Raj, or who was the king of those days. So Sarvam Bhattacharya was not only a chief priest, he was a very experienced scholar, a great philosopher, who had trained students all over India. He was a Vidya Vachaspati. He knew everything. So he understood that this saint who is fainted, he is not an ordinary sentimentalist. There are some fake people also who dance and imitate Lord Chaitanya. And when they imitate, their tears may be coming. There may be goosebumps. They are full ecstatic. So much they are thrilled. But when they fall down, a great philosopher or a scholar or a physician, they can actually do a test. I told you this example, whether a patient will tell somebody, "I am having these symptoms," that can be tested. Similarly, Sarvam Bhattacharya took a small cotton strap, small like a batti he took, and he put near his nose. And he was breathing. And he tested all the symptoms. And he could make out he's not an ordinary soul, he's a very advanced soul. He's really experiencing that feelings in his heart. You see, actually, in the Ayurveda Shastra, just by touching their nadi, kapha, pitta, vayu, this diagnosis was happening. Nowadays, after post-COVID period, even you are being given a lot of tests and you have to take this much blood. After that blood, the doctor will give some tests and we really don't know the time also whether they are really diagnosed or not. So the previous Ayurveda Shastra, they were very genuine in those days. We don't know about today how much genuine or how much knowledge is still there. But those days, 500 years back, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he could make out the symptoms of a sentimentalist or somebody who is a genuine devotee of Lord Jagannath. So he ordered the servants around. There were some king servants there and the servants of Lord Jagannath. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told, you please take the Singh sannyasi to my house. And when Lord Chaitanya was carried to his house, there was Gopinath Acharya who knew Lord Chaitanya as Nimai Pandit. Lord Chaitanya was not just a sentimentalist. He was a great scholar in Vedas. When he was just 16 years old, he had actually opened a Sanskrit school. And there was one great scholar from Kashmir. And he was known as Keshava Kashmiri. So he had come to fight verbally. Fight verbally means those days fighting was not scolding. They used to defend each other on their strength of Shastra, scholarliness. That was the fight. The scholar can talk to the other scholar by tarka, by logic. When people fight, there should be some common platform. Now when we ask somebody about God, they may tell, actually I know about my God, you know about your God. Everybody knows about their own gods. No, it's not the fact. Every description about God is mentioned in the Vedic literature. In the Bhagavad Gita it is said, Yashastra visrajya vartate kamakarataha. If you give up the Shastras with your intention for sense gratification, then you are asura. You are a demon. Only a demon. Asuras gives up the Shastra. The Vedas are a body of knowledge. They may have some sentiments, but they are all based on sound foundation of Shastras. The Shastras are sound proofs of everything. Like Ayurveda has sound knowledge. It's not a sentiment. Similarly, there was Dhanurveda. It was not a sentiment. It was military science. A nuclear weapon could be just produced by mantra. These were all not sentiments, they were practical. Similarly, when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was testing somebody, it was not an ordinary science, it was a great science. So there was Gopinath Acharya who knew about Lord Chaitanya's debate capacity when he was just 16 years old. He had seen him as Nimai Pandit. And Nimai Pandit, 16 years old boy, when a great scholar came from Kashmir, and this Kashmiri Pandit asked Lord Chaitanya that I heard you are a great scholar. Why don't you debate with me? So Lord Chaitanya said, my dear sir, I am a small boy. I knew only little Sanskrit. I am teaching to my students. I heard you are a great scholar. We are at the banks of Ganges. Why don't you compile a few verses on this Mother Ganges? So this great scholar, he compiled within few minutes more than 60 verses. More than 60 verses of glorification of Mother Ganges. He compiled in a few minutes. So everybody were wonderstruck on the scholarship of this great scholar. So Lord Chaitanya, who was Nimai Pandit at that time, he said, dear sir, you have spoken very well. But I have one doubt. In one particular verse of what you have recited, the person got a shock of his life. Nobody could recall what he has spoken one time. And here was a Shrutidara. Shrutidara means just by hearing they can remember everything. Shruti means hearing, and Shrutidara means just by hearing they can remember all the Shastras. Those days, the Gurukul students didn't require any book. They could just remember. So Lord Chaitanya remembered all the verses, which were 62 or 64 verses, what he had compiled. And he said, in one shloka, I think 52 or 54, in this shloka, he tells Bhavani Bharta in that Sanskrit shloka. It comes two times. Bhavani means already she is the wife of Shiva. And Bhavani Bharta means it appears to be that Parvati has one more husband. So this is something, an error in grammar. It is something which a poet should not do. It's a blunder. So when Lord Chaitanya could pick out that statement, so he was not only wonderstruck, he was put in shame. Because those days, if you are defeated, you have to accept the other person as your guru, spiritual master. So he was such a great scholar, but he actually got defeated with a young 16 years old boy. So that day night, he was a great devotee of Mother Saraswati, and he was crying, and Mother Saraswati came to his dream and told, don't worry, Keshava Kashmiri. So because he was very much worried that I have been defeated by an ordinary boy. He said, you have been defeated by the Supreme Lord who has come as a devotee. So you don't have to worry. The next day morning, that scholar went and surrendered to Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya was a great Pandit. And he had given up all that and taken up sannyas, and he had come to Jagannath Puri. And in Jagannath Puri, although he was dancing and chanting, he was not doing that with just sentimentalism. Like people give up everything and just dance and laugh and cry. And this laughing and crying may not be genuine. It may be just mere some sentimental. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing and kirtan, they were not just sentimental, but they had profound philosophy behind it. There was a relationship of a mood of a Vaishnava, of a pure devotee of the Lord, of Jagannath, and he is feeling great separation. And here in Lord Chaitanya's life history, we will see he displayed a lot of high sentimental feelings towards Lord Krishna, and the same things are imitated nowadays in the name of Lord Chaitanya followers or by many others also who don't claim to be Lord Chaitanya's followers. So here, what is that great sentiment? That great sentiment had a lot of foundation. So one more incident in Lord Chaitanya's life is he is ecstatic dancing in Jagannath Rath Yatra. There also, Lord Chaitanya was carrying a sentiment of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. I told you a story of how he had sent Uddhav. Krishna had sent Uddhav after he went to Dwaraka, that you just please go and find out. I told all my relatives in Vrindavan, I will come back. But somehow I am not able to come back. I got stuck here because he has become now Prince of Mathura. Then he went to Dwaraka and he is Dwarkadisha now. So he could not meet them. So he had sent him for his welfare. And after coming to know about the feelings of Vrindavan inhabitants, Lord Krishna was always crying. Even Krishna was crying for his devotees. In fact, Krishna used to tell the gopis or the gopas, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, that I cannot repay back your love. Generally, if something is done to God, God will give that 10,000 times. The pastime of Sudama, the Sudama Vipra, Brahmana Vipra, Sudama is Krishna's childhood friend. How Krishna, because of a chipped rice, what he gave with devotion, he gave so much that he had a big palace. When Sudama returned back to his house, he saw a very big palace there. So Krishna can take a little chipped rice, poha, and he can give big palaces for his devotees. Whereas he is saying to his inhabitants of Vrindavan, my dear inhabitants of Vrindavan, Rajavasis, I cannot give you anything back because your devotion is so matchless that I cannot give anything to you. You have purchased me with your devotion. So, this is what Krishna is saying to the Rajavasis. So, once there was a special occasion, eclipse, which was celebrated by Vasudeva. So, he wanted to come to Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is a Dharma Kshetra. So, people, like how people come to Jagannath Puri and they go to Kashi, Haridwar. Those days they also used to go to Kurukshetra. And in Kurukshetra, they used to perform a lot of sacrifices. So for that sake, so they had to come to Kurukshetra, and Kurukshetra is near Delhi, and near Delhi is also Mathura and Vrindavan. So the devotees of Vrindavan were also sent message once that Krishna is coming to Kurukshetra, you can all come and see him. So all the Vrindavan inhabitants, they were actually in great separation that now Krishna, you have left over and gone, now what happened to our life? But suddenly their life, they got a Krishna light, laddus, Krishna light, this butter, like that everybody started packing. They all wanted to go and see Krishna. So it happened once like that in between, there was an opportunity to see Krishna. Everybody packed everything and started moving towards Kurukshetra. And when Kurukshetra they reached, Krishna and his army and all his wives and all his paraphernalia, everything was already there in that place. So they were going and searching, where is my Krishna? And there were big elephants there, horses were there, and they are walking in between the tents. And they are searching, where is our Krishna? Krishna, where is he? Like that they used to go and search. They were not city inhabitants, they were from village. Innocent people. They didn't know what was city. And they were seeing big horses and elephants and big tents. And there were some assemblies, meetings happening in each tent. They were bewildered. They were searching where is Krishna, and one tent they went open and saw. And there was Krishna sitting on a throne, on his Singhasan. And he was directing people, you do like this, you do like that. And when they saw Krishna, the tears started flowing. After their tears started flowing, but they were all fearful. Is he our Krishna? Our Krishna was not having a crown on his head. He was not sitting on the throne. He was village boy, our boy. But here he is sitting like a king. So when Krishna saw them, he met them, and there was a loving exchanges between mother, son, and friends, and especially with his gopis and gopas. So Krishna actually wanted all of them, and he was so happy to see them. But the gopis of Vrindavan, they were not very happy to see Krishna in that way. They all said, the Vrindavan inhabitants, the Brajavasis said, "Oh Krishna, we want you back in Vrindavan. Please come back to Vrindavan. We can't see you in this way. We want you in Vrindavan as our friend. Same way you are running and playing around with us." That's the mood of Radharani also. That's the highest rasa or melo which is experienced by gopis and Krishna. That is the Vipralamba Seva in separation. They were having separation of Krishna, but still in separation they could never forget Krishna. The great yogis have to meditate on Krishna every day. But here the gopis, to forget Krishna, even if they do meditation, they cannot forget. They were doing meditation to forget Krishna, but still they could not forget Krishna. So that was their deep love, and that was what was experienced by the Vrajavasis, was experienced by Lord Chaitanya also. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was experiencing such love when Lord Jagannath Rath Yatra used to happen. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to see Lord Jagannath as Dwarakadish, as a king of Dwaraka. And during Rath Yatra, when Lord Jagannath comes out, he used to see Lord Jagannath is coming out of Dwaraka. And just like the Vrindavan inhabitants, they told Krishna, now we will pull you back to Vrindavan. And they made Krishna and his sister Subhadra and Balaram, and they pulled the chariots towards Vrindavan. That is the mood of Jagannath Rath Yatra, and the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they are taking back to his home. That's how the Neelachala hill, where Jagannatha is situated, that is considered to be like Dwaraka, and there Krishna is like Dwarakadish. That is Neelachala. And the Gundicha Mandir is called Sundarachal, which is compared to Vrindavan. And Krishna is being taken to his mother's house, to his Vrindavan. That is the mood. And Lord Chaitanya was in the mood of a Brajavasi, and he was dancing. He was in the mood of Radharani, and he was crying, Krishna, Jagannath, you are leaving me and going away. So during his bhajan and kirtan, when he was dancing like this, Jagannath used to stop. In the life and teachings of Lord Chaitanya, there are very important books, 4 or 5 books. One of the book is Chaitanya Charitamrita. It has a history of Lord Chaitanya, what happened 500 years back. In that we see how Jagannath Rath used to stop for Lord Chaitanya. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing, and he goes behind in ecstasy, and he's in the mood, oh Krishna, oh Dwarkadish, oh Krishna, you have forgotten me, and you have gone away. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in that mood, Lord Jagannath used to reciprocate and stop the Rath. And the Rath could not move forward. Even if elephants were engaged to drag it, he would not move forward. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to come and just push with his head in the front, the cart used to again start with a rattling sound, and it used to move forward. So these sentiments used to touch Jagannath. So our sentiments should be to touch Jagannath. Sudama Vipra, a devotee friend, schoolmate of Krishna, he actually met Krishna, his old friend in Dwaraka. So we know that beautiful pastime, how Krishna actually met him with so much of love, remembering his childhood memories. In childhood, when he was in the Gurukul, Sudama and Krishna used to play, and they used to go to collect some sticks and come for their guru in the ashram. So Krishna was the king's son, he was a prince. And Sudama was a Brahmin boy, and he was a Brahmin son. So you can see that there was no caste basis. Somebody is going to guru, whether he is a Kshatriya son, he is a king's son, or a Brahmana son, Pandit's son, they have to sleep together, they have to work together. So Krishna, he was playing the role of a prince. But when he came to as a disciple to Sandeepa Muni ashram, he was just behaving like an ordinary student, and he was serving the guru. Once there was a rain, and they all went out in rain, and Sudama and Krishna were struck in rain, and they could not come back. And the rain was continuously pouring whole night, they got struck there. And next day his guru came searching. My disciples went missing yesterday night. And when they saw, they both were shivering. And when they were shivering there, whole night in the rain, his guru saw them, and he was very pleased that my disciples have taken so much of pain. So he blessed them with knowledge. So even a guru, like Krishna, got blessings from his guru. It's the way. Even you may be a great personality, but you have to show that great personality in your practical application in life. With little education, with little knowledge in Vedic or material education, people get carried away. I am so great. But a student, a real student, never forgets the teacher. So Krishna is showing an example of a student. And as a devotee, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he showed an exemplary of a devotee. And we have heard in the Bhagavad Gita, Pavitranaya Sadhuna. Vinashaya Dushkrutam. He actually comes to kill and remove the wrong agents of this world. And Dharma Samsthapanartha, yeah, he comes for establishing Dharma. And the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has told, just by remembering him, Man mana bhava mat bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. By remembering and becoming his devotee, you will get rid of all diseases. You will get rid of all the problems of your life. That's a secret. All our problems are because of identifying with this body, and we are stuck in this world. But if you can chant the name of Lord as Jagannath, as Krishna, as Govinda, as Madhava, or chant, we all, as Chaitanya followers, we all chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I request you, all of you, to chant this mantra every day, and we'll keep on chanting and try to bring some changes in the society's hearts. So this is not a sentiment. What we are chanting, Hare Krishna mantra, is a sentiment? No, it cannot be a sentiment. Why? It is mentioned in the Shastras. It's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. If suppose somebody creates something and said, I have created this mantra. One person told me, sir, if you you sit in the boat, you will all reach the same ocean. Not necessarily. You may, just like if you sit in the train to Calcutta, you will go to Calcutta, you will not go to Bombay. So it is foolish to say, I will take any path, but I will get the same perfection. Even an ordinary child can know, if I go this direction, which is a shortcut. Like if you fly from here to Bombay, you may reach fast. Somebody may go in train moving around, they go a little slow. So every path, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, they have their own process. So Bhakti Yoga is not sentiment. Bhakti Yoga involves Jnana Yoga. It involves Karma Yoga. So Bhakti is not just a sentiment. So we use all our senses for the Lord. Yat karosi, yat juhosi, yat ashnasi, yat tapasyasi. Tapasyasi means you do austerities. Used all the technological skills what they have studied in their colleges, and they are using for the service of the Lord and society. So it cannot be a sentiment. So similarly, anything which are mentioned in the scriptures, they cannot be sentiment. So this chanting of Hare Krishna mantra cannot be sentiment. What is called real sentiment and false sentiments. You can have real sentiment in life, which should have a sound proof, a science behind it. The Vedic science has real sentiments. Suppose somebody may feel that I am having God, and they have learned a habit of crying. Just like if you see a movie, if there is some tragedy scene and there is some music which is kept, you can create an emotion and tears may start coming to you. That is different from real science of crying. You should learn the science of crying with real sentiments, not with blind emotions. Like I want to serve my family with real emotion, not with blind sentiment. Nowadays, people want to help somebody who is suffering. So the government are very watchful. Somebody will go and say, I have got a cure, and they'll give some injection or some medicine. It may be harmful to them. So we should not become some fake doctors or fake spiritualists, but we have to become real followers of Krishna and real followers of Lord Chaitanya and Jagannath.
What is Dharma? Kula Dharma, Jiva Dharma, Kshatriya Dharma, Vaidya Dharma. Like this we hear a lot of dharmas. What is actually Dharma? In Sanskrit language, when Dharma is used, it denotes different meanings according to different circumstances. For example, in a place of war, when Dharma is used, like Dharma Yuddha, it means the principles of Dharma are used in fighting. It is not adharmic. Adharmic means there are no principles for fighting. In Vedic times, if somebody has to go and fight, first they used to talk peacefully. contemplate, understand the issues, and nothing is happening, only finally there will be war. And war is not meant for enjoyment of one king. When Pandavas and Kauravas are fighting, Lord Krishna tried many ways to stop the battle. He went as Shanti Duta, the messenger of peace. The Kauravas were so adamant that they told Krishna that we will not even give one needle space. You are asking to give 5 villages to Pandavas. There are 5 people, 5 villages. Even one needle inch we will not give you. So they were very adharmic. Adharmic means they were not following the principles which are ordained in the scriptures. Dharma are principles. Dharma is religion in the sense that we are following the principles to progress in our spiritual path. That's why Varnashrama Dharma. There is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Varnas, and Ashrama, Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanapastha, and Sannyasa. All these were called ashramas. Ashrama means a place where spiritual progress is done. It doesn't matter what ashram you have accepted. One need not be a hypocrite and artificially try to imitate a brahmachari life or a sannyasi life if he cannot follow it. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very strict about it. In Kauravas and Pandavas, why fight happened? This fight happened because the Kauravas did not give the share. They wrongly took it away by gambling. And later they were not giving it back. So this is why there is a Dharma Yuddha which happened. Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre is, they are actually following Dharma in the place of pilgrimage. Kurukshetra is also a place of pilgrimage. And Dhritarashtra was worried that they have gone to Kurukshetra, it's a Dharma Kshetra, and Pandavas are with Krishna, who is following Dharma. Maybe my children will change their mind now. Because if you go to a temple or a pilgrimage place, your mind will change. You will not want to do any bad things. A small story Prabhupada gives of a thief. He had gone to a pilgrimage and out of habit, in the night, he got up. Thief's business is to steal. But he has come to a pilgrimage, he should not steal. So what he did was, instead of stealing, he took one person bag and put it into other place. And took one more person bag and put it to other place. In the morning, everybody were fighting, where is my bag, where is my bag? And they found his bag is in the other place. So they were fighting, he told, no, I am a thief. I did it by habit. So in a pilgrimage place, a thief also wanted to avoid stealing. So this doubt Dhritarashtra had. Now Pandavas and Kauravas, they have assembled in Kurukshetra for fighting. Now will they fight or will they become again one? So this is his problem. He wanted them to fight. That is a Kshatriya spirit. A Kshatriya will not give up the battlefield and run away. In fact, there is a story of one Jashwant Singh. He was a commander-in-chief and he got defeated in a battlefield. So the queen closed the doors of the palace. So he sent the message to his queen, I have come back, I am Jashwant Singh who has come back. So she replied, oh, Jashwant Singh. Jashwant Singh will not return back from battlefield after getting defeated. He will get killed there, but he will not come back. So you see, a Kshatriya's wife She also doesn't want her husband to come back without fighting. This is a Kshatriya spirit. In Varnashrama Dharma, everybody had their role to play. A Kshatriya king had a role to play for protection. That was his dharma. That was his occupation. So there is a fighting has to be done according to dharma, according to their principles. Dharma is principle, dharma is occupation, dharma is a progress of spiritual life towards going back to Krishna, going back to Vaikunta. Savai pumsam paro dharmo. The paradharma, why Krishna is speaking sarvadharman parityajya is that now Krishna has started speaking about paradharma. The regular dharma is our activities. A Kshatriya dharma is there. Brahmana dharma is there. Vaishya dharma is there. They all have their occupational duties. But at a right time, they have to give up their occupational duties and they have to take up paradharma. Paradharma is connected to God. Paradharma actually is the goal of all dharmic activities. When you perform any regular spiritual activities, religious activities, that is also called dharma. But Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita both rejects that dharma at a particular time of life, at a particular phase of your life. Like Bharat Maharaj was only 24 years old, but he gave up his kingdom and walked into forest. This is Vedic life. Even though you may have an occupation, you have to give up that and take up a higher dharma, paro dharma. This is the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Sarvadharman parityajya. You are a Kshatriya, you are ruling your kingdom, but one day you have to give it up. You cannot be attached until your last phase of life and crying. Srila Prabhupada, our Acharya, used to mention about one incident he had seen in one of his friend, that he is dying in the bed and he is asking doctor, please give me 5 years time. Please give me 5 years time. I will pay as much money as you want. I want 5 years time. Why? Because you want to settle off all his business affairs and all. Even 3 minutes you will not be given by doctor. When Kala comes, when time comes, everything has to be given up. There is no choice. Even your Ayush, your age, duration of life, you cannot give even one kshanam api, even one kshana, 1 second or 1 minute you will not get. Even Swarna Koti Bihi, even if you spend millions of dollars or thousands of golden coins, you cannot get even 1 second. Such valuable is this life. So this paradharma is educated right from childhood in Vedic life. So in Vedic life there is Vedic dharma. Dharma shastras are there, scriptures are there. They all ask us to engage in our occupational duties of dharma as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, or in the modern terms either as a doctor or as an engineer or as a businessman, as a singer, as a priest, whatever you want. But at the end, you have to give it up and take up to paradharma. These are the teachings of even Lord Brahma. He is saying, Sthane Sthita. You stay in your same situation, doesn't matter. Not that you have to give up your life and go to a forest and sit there and meditate. What is the use you go to the forest? When you are staying in your home, you are thinking this is my property. Then when you go to forest, there you will think this is also my property. So wherever we are traveling, we start identifying that is my property, my property. So dharma means you know that this is not your property, you give it up. Your family life is also not yours. Your sannyasi life is also not yours. Actually, even in sannyasa stage, there are 4 levels mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. The first level of sannyasi is a kuti chaka sannyasi. Kuti chaka means he goes to, in the village, he makes a kutir in his own village. And there, he actually, in his old family life, there are his old family members, they will come and give him food. So he is still depending on his old family members. It's called Kuti Chaka Sannyas. The next level is Bahudaka Sannyasi. Now he doesn't want to depend on his family. He is depending on others also. Actually, he is depending on the Lord. That is the goal of life. But even when taking alms, that's called Madhukari. Madhukari is, even now in Vrindavan, Mathura, there are sadhus who go house to house. Their idea is not for begging. Their idea is to give spiritual knowledge. When they go to house, not like modern day beggars, they are asking why 10 rupees you give 20 rupees. That was not the, alms were not for that. A Brahmana used to give knowledge and used to accept charity, and he also used to give back charity. There were kings who used to give gold as charity. And the Brahmanas, they used to feel, why I cannot carry so much, and they used to throw. They didn't want. And even they used to take in golden plate and they used to throw. So these were all so much of gold accumulated somewhere near Himalayas. Krishna sent Arjuna to accumulate all that gold for performing Rajasuya Yajna. That's how one more name of Arjuna is Dhananjaya. So the Brahmanas were not greedy. Today you get so much of gold, not that I keep it. I today want something for my living, and after that whatever extra is there, I will call some people and distribute it as prasadam, as a festival. So they used to always do for the welfare of others. Brahmana Dharma. By birth nobody is a Brahmana. Brahmana, or you born a Brahmana family or a Vaishya family or Shudra family. Janmanat Jayate Shudra. Generally people think Shudra means it is something low class. No. Varnashrama Dharma, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, all four are gentlemen. After that comes Panchamas, and then there are Chandalas. So modern day education, we are all Mlecha education. We are not even four classes of society where there used to be very, very ideal class. Shudra were also respected. Vaishyas were respected. So everyone had a title, not that they were treated as low class, according to their consciousness. So Janmana Jayate Shudra, Shudra was very truthful. Not only Brahmana, even Shudras were truthful. So that was a category of people. So all the four classes of people, they were very truthful, and it was not only by birth. By birth everybody was treated equal as Shudras. Shudra means he is very obedient to everyone. Then when he goes to a guru, the guru will see according to his nature and consciousness what kind of training he requires. Somebody may have a Kshatriya traits, but you would have taken birth in a Shudra family. Somebody would have had a Brahmana traits, but you would have taken birth in a Kshatriya family. The guru identifies what is his requirement. If you go to a college, our gurus there, our teachers are not identifying, he is having a good brain, poetical brain, let us train him in poetry. No, they will all force us to become compulsorily mechanics. Many of our devotees who are educated, they are mostly engineers. Few are doctors and few are management professionals. So if you see if you ask anybody, very few people will say, my parents gave me choice to take up engineering or doctor or anything. They liked that, so they went. No, they were forced, because the whole society will say, you become engineer means you are great. So you are forced to go and become a mechanical engineer or a computer engineer or something like that. The Vedic education was, they were progressing towards dharma even while following the Kshatriya duties of protection. They saw this nature is there in him. So let us take up this path. They were giving training in that Kshatriya Dharma. So he is a very renounced person. He has the qualities of a Brahmana. Let us train him in Brahmana Dharma. So these are all Dharma according to occupations. As I was talking to you about sannyasa, he is Kutichaka, Bahudaka. He is doing Bahudaka means from Bahu means many. From many houses he does Madhukari and try to give some spiritual education. He understands that this village is not mine. It belongs to God. Let me not stay here. Now let me move out. Let me go from village to village, town to town, and then preach. That's how he becomes a Parivrajkacharya. Then after preaching, he understands his consciousness, everything in this world is coming because of God. People who are in Maya also, that is Krishna's energy. People who are in devotional also, that is also Krishna's arrangement. He becomes a Paramahamsa sannyasi. The Paramahamsa, this Hamsa title means it's like swan. Swan actually separates out milk and water if it mixed also. So Paramahamsa, he can separate out the spirituality, his love for God, and the material world. He can both separate out. So the Vedic life, the Dharma, whatever you are following, so you have to come to that stage. The Pandavas and Kauravas, they were actually in that stage. So they were in a situation, they were in Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra. And in that Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra, Dhritarashtra was worried what will happen to my sons. They are in a spiritual place. Will they fight or will they give it up? So we have to actually give it up. If you are having any fight on a material platform, you have to give it up and come to a spiritual platform. Only in spiritual platform there is equality. In material platform there is no equality. Even among animals or birds, there are, as I told you, there is swan, hamsa, and there are crows. Swans always want to be in a beautiful place. The crows always want to be in a dirty place. So that's called as, dirty places are called as crows' pilgrimages. Whereas swans, wherever they go, they go beautiful lakes, nice sceneries. There you will see swans are moving around. So among birds there is no equality. Among animals, even among dogs, there are some highly built dogs, there are small like cat kind of dogs. How can you make everything one in this world? What is one is that spirit soul within us. In that spiritual platform, you can remain equal. That is Dharma. Even when you are following occupational duties, there is Dharma. There is three Dharma, Purusha Dharma. A man has to follow his duties. He has to follow his Dharma. The women, they used to follow their duties. In their Vedic life, not that women means you are a less class, man means high class. No, both were given equal opportunity. But the man was given opportunity for renouncing this world, which wife used to accompany until Vanaprastha Ashrama. When Brahmachari life is there, they are taking training under Guru, spiritual master. And when the Guru sees that the disciple wants to marry, he allows him. And that from 24, 25 years age up to 50 years age maximum, the senses are strong, so they may have children and whatever they require. And after that they give up their family life, and husband and wife both go to pilgrimage places. And maybe after some few years, the husband actually he is taking training for sannyas, and he tells his wife to go back to his house. That kind of differentiation were there because women were given opportunity to stay in their family life and then follow spirituality. Their detachment was even more difficult. Devahuti got married to Kardama Muni. She was actually a daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. Swayambhuva Manu daughter means she was a princess. A princess got married to a sage. And after that, her husband took sannyas. So before taking sannyas, she requested, I want to have children. So she had 9 daughters. And after that she asked, I also want a son. So she got Supreme Lord Vishnu as Lord Kapila in her womb. And later, Lord Kapila also left the house. So she had a wonderful life as a princess, as a daughter in her father's house. She was a very chaste wife of Kardama Muni, and she was very austere. And she was blessed with beautiful children. After that, she had the Supreme Lord himself as a son. So these 3 phases of life for her, as a daughter, as a wife, and also as a mother. So all these phases of life, she had a successful life. In the Vedic life, a success of a woman is not seen only in how much money she can earn or how much she is learned. The learning of a man and woman is wisdom. The character of an individual is considered to be dharma. This is progress of life. Devahuti had a wonderful 3 phases. So women had no discrimination, but man had a higher duty. What is the duty? He had to give up that family. He had to give up that family and take sannyas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had everything in his life. He had a beautiful wife. He had mother. But for the sake of the society, he had to give up his material life and take up the spiritual path. Spiritual path everybody used to take up. There were religious activities. These religious activities also are called as dharma. And if you do any religious activity, dharmartha kama. Dharmartha kama is they do religious activities just for gaining some financial gain. And when you get financial gain, what do you want? You want to satisfy your senses by having a good house and a good paraphernalia. So this is how, but so Vedic literature's advice, don't get attached only to dharmartha kama. Your dharmartha, you are doing your dharma only for artha and kama. You don't end it, you should go dharmartha kama moksha. Come up to moksha. So this moksha, Bhagavatam starts with dharma should not be done for material progress. Dharmasya hi apavargasya na arthaya upakalpate. Na artha, not dharmartha kama. They are saying no more artha, no more financial gain I am doing the spirituality. People go to God to ask, please give me daily bread, please give me this money, give me this, give me that. That is also one level of dharma, that is occupational duties. You are going and trying to get something. But you can achieve even more than that as paradharma. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yeto bhakti radokshaje. Your dharma is for bhakti. This bhakti you have to go back to Vaikuntha. We have come here only for a small time. And we are identifying this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. We are not meant for that. Everybody speaks on responsibility. I have to, how can I give up my spiritual, my material world? I have a lot of responsibility. Our responsibility is there until I take up devotional path. When I take devotional path, my grahastha life, my vanaprastha life, that is also meant for spiritual progress. I cannot be attached to my home, sweet home, and I stay there. If you are too much attached to your house, next life you may become a cockroach in that house or a snake in that house. If you are doing too much of papa karma, you get too much attached to your house. Generally, gold treasure has a lot of snakes. It is said that they were all that gold treasure people in their previous lives. They got so much attached to that, and next life they have to be just guarding as snakes. They cannot enjoy that life. Kripana and Brahmana. Kripana means very miserly. He did not use his human form of life for progress. He never used that money or his valuable human life for progress in spirituality. So any dharma, if it doesn't matter whether you are a Kshatriya, Brahmana, Shudra, or a doctor or an engineer, if you are a Christian or a Muslim or anybody. Actually, the dictionary gives a wrong meaning saying that dharma is religion. Actually, dharma is a quality which cannot be separated from its substance. Just like sweetness is a quality of sugar. Chilies are pungent and hot. Sweet chilies or salty sugar, then it is not real dharma of that sugar or of that chili. Similarly, there is a dharma of every atma. Every atma actually loves somebody. They do loving service to somebody. That's why you cannot avoid loving service to anybody. In this world, if you are not having a lovable family member, you take an animal and then you start loving it. Because there is nobody to give you love. So we want to serve somebody. That's how when a sannyasi, actually if he cannot serve the Supreme Lord and artificially meditating on some impersonal aspect, they get frustrated and they again come back to this world. Socialist social service. Social service should be in such a way that they get connected back to the Parodharma. So whether you are a socialist or you are a philanthropist, whatever you are, you have to come to this path of Parodharma. Man and women, there is a lot of fight in the modern world. Srila Prabhupada had gone to London, New York, and wherever press people they talk, the Vedic life actually says that you should not give freedom to children and women. When the statement is made, people become very angry. Why should not give freedom to women? This is discrimination of gender. The modern education has thought that Vedic life means that they are discriminating women's independence. No, actually women had a lot of independence for progress. This na swatantraha is, this swatantra is not in connection with their going around or they can have their independent enjoyment or anything like that. Actually, what swatantra they are talking is, a respectable person's daughter will never mix with an outside man. If a respectable woman actually mixes with a polluted man knows how to make even a very, very good chaste woman also as a prostitute. He is so competent. Man is a third class if he is not trained. Not third class, fifth class, sixth class, seventh class. And that's how in the Western world, this free mixing of man and women, the women becomes cheated. Women becomes a victim. Man goes away. Women actually becomes a victim. And the government has to support that child, the pregnant women. Or there is a tendency, you have sense gratification and then you have abortion. In the Western world, there are so many abortion cases. The poor girl, the child, from teenage onwards, in the name of modern education, they left them in the streets a dating is considered for them as a modern education. Dharma means you should not do anything which is not part of your life. You are loosening your walls. There is shyness in women. That's like tightening the wall. If it is too much loosened, if there is no shyness, if you see a woman which shy has a lot of attraction. Actually, a prostitute has no value. So this is what they are saying, a woman should be protected. In the Vedic age, they were very, very highly advanced. Women were very highly advanced in their character. A respectable man's wife, if she is going on the street, even the sun cannot see. They used to be carried in a palanquin. Can you imagine how much respect they were getting? And we think that half-dressed women or this is called progress. These are modern thinking that, oh, we are very progressed. What is the progress? Man can wear full pant and women has to wear half pant. That is progress. You go to any cities of the world, generally man doesn't go with trousers to the office. But women can go with half-legged, whatever they are wearing. So these are all not women's independence which has brought in this problem. These are polluted men who want to see women like that and try to enjoy his own uncontrolled senses. These are the fellows who actually bring in feminism. Feminism is not brought in by women. It is brought in by polluted men. So if you understand the real meaning of real feminism is to bring back that value for women. That was the education in Dharma. There was education in Dharma that an educated boy was of high character. The character of dharmic person was that he doesn't see any other woman who is not his wife as a enjoyable object. If he is having that tendency, then he is told you go to a prostitute. You don't have to have prostitution with respectable women. Respectable women should remain as respectable women. That is saying no independence. No independence means you have no independence to go to a fellow who will try to cheat you. The father's responsibility was there to see to it that this girl is going to a right man. That was a responsibility. Not that they have sense gratification, they have sexual life for a few days or few years, and after that they get frustrated, and if there is a child in the womb, you do abortion or you kill it, you throw them on the street. There is not one child, one father, two fathers, three fathers, four fathers, five fathers. And this is called civilization. In the Vedic age, father and mother were so much responsible for the child. They were training them in high character. And this is considered to be primitive. Oh man, women is not given independence. Women had so much of independence. Mother Yashoda, she was a queen of Vrindavan. So she was Nanda Maharaj's wife. Krishna was fearful of Yashoda. So where is that Mother Yashoda? Independence is not there. What independence is not there? She is controlling the whole Rajabhumi. That was their power. The Kshatriya women, there was Swayamvara. Swayamvara means they can choose their prince, their bridegroom. The princess can choose. They are of that high character. Not that there is some boy going on the street, I'll throw one rose or give Valentine's Days. Oh, do you want to marry me? That is not the way. A person, they check. You are trying to marry a person. A princess had a choice. And there were, just like Sita and Ram Swayamvara, the kings who were coming there to marry Sita, they had to break a bow of Lord Shiva, Shiva Dhanush. It was so huge and heavy. And if suppose somebody had to marry Sita, he had to break that. Why he had to break that? Mother Sita was so powerful that she could push that away while playing. So she was so powerful, a person to marry such chaste, powerful, beautiful goddess of fortune requires to be of such caliber. Not that a girl is high class and boy is a low class fellow. Even though he may be having lot of money, by his so-called certificate, academic education, they were not called educated. A Kshatriya girl could marry a Brahmana who was of high character, not by birth, but by qualification. When Draupadi married Arjuna, Brahmanas and Kshatriyas were allowed for that Swayamvara because they were of such caliber. If they say Vaishya, Shudra or somebody else cannot marry, because if a girl is of a higher character, a Kshatriya girl, if she marries a Vaishya boy or a Shudra boy who is not properly trained, not by birth but by character, then she cannot be a subordinate for her husband who is supposed to be a guru for her. A woman has a natural tendency to have protection, love for her husband. And if the husband itself is a low class person, what he can give guidance? That's why the Swayamvara was there for high class women and high class men. So this is Kshatriya Dharma. Like Krishna had to marry so many queens by fighting only. He went to one kingdom where they had a lot of bulls to be tied. And that bulls were so powerful, anybody goes they used to kill them. But Krishna tied them just like a children go and tie their toys. Like that Krishna tied and he won the princess. So this kind of greatness was there for women in the Vedic age. So the Vedic education, whoever are accepting the spirituality, they should be very careful when somebody cheats them that, oh, women had no independence. No, they had lot of independence. That independence was spiritual independence. Srila Prabhupada, when he was preaching in the West, he said, women are preachers. That is equal platform. There is equality in spirituality. You are not this body. What is the use of making this body? Somebody is tall, somebody is short. So we all want to make everybody equal. So cut off their legs and make them equal. This is not a way of equality. If you put all the animals who are fighting in one room, Srila Prabhupada gives this example, and they are all fighting bow, and you say they all have to be equal. What is the use of making somebody equal like that? So of late, this tendency of man and women being equal, they are not understanding what is equal. You have to be equal, not only equal, you have to be more than man. You have to be more in their character, more in your spiritual life. A good wife actually is a great support for a husband to progress spiritually. If you see any great personalities spiritually or in material success, there is always a good wife. A good wife is not seen as subordinate. A good wife is seen as a subordinate for supporting them. So these are key things. Instead of taking, if your good things are there, it is said in our Vedic literature that if there is a gold in garbage, you can collect it. Doesn't matter. Even in a poor family, a qualified wife, you should accept it. You can accept education even if a person comes not in a well-educated family. So these are Vedic wisdom. So we'll discuss in more classes. Jai Jagannath.